there, welcome back to the Grow with Cara show. Today we continue our interview series with successful attorney marketers. We're taking a close look at what's working, what's not, the specific steps these attorneys took to get to where they are. And remember, these are simple steps that you too can follow to get on a similar path to growth. Okay, diving right in, today our special guest is attorney Chris Early. Chris is the founder of the Early Law Group, a rapidly growing personal injury firm in Boston. We're excited to have him here today. Welcome, Chris. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, Karen. It means a lot. Thank you so very much.
Yeah. We're happy and excited to dive in. So, Chris, to begin, tell us a little about your story. Why did you launch the firm? I think it was about 20 years ago.
That's right. Yeah. So I kind of have an unconventional story. I don't come from really a lawyer background. And I went to law school and I had trouble getting a job after I graduated. So I shortly thereafter started to practice. I was in a partnership with a lawyer, but that didn't really, it kind of fizzled out. So I started my practice, and I guess I mentioned my story because my story is unique, and I kind of use that in my marketing to attract clients who have an affinity to the story. So happy to chat about that, later on in our time together. But that is how I started, with really from scratch. I had nothing, no contacts, really few, professional contacts at all, no clients, nothing. And I started, and it's grown quickly recently, but for years I was, kind of missing the mark on things. So I'm happy to get into sort of what's worked recently, the past few years since the pandemic started. But it's grown significantly, and I'm really happy to, excited to share with you.
Great. Yeah, well, let's hear about a little bit about that story. I'd love to kind of hear how it evolved.
Sure. So when I started the practice, like I said, I just started from scratch in Boston, highly competitive market, especially with PI. And so for years, it was just kind of me and an assistant. And I was doing well. The money was good, but there was sort of a plateau that I hit. And I guess it was in the pandemic, which is when I sort of had to pivot. I saw a lot of attorneys pulling back. And I kind of went for it and scaled. And I am a big, there's external marketing, marketing to the outside world, and it's sort of internal marketing. I started to focus on the internal marketing, as Dan Kennedy likes to talk about, your tribe or your herd of raving fans. And so I really sort of drilled in on customer service, really making clients happy, that group client referrals, growing my attorney network, through public speaking, through just sort of like a grassroots initiative of just meeting as many lawyers as I could. And so I guess I'm seeing referrals come quite abundantly, thankfully. I'm grateful to say that. But for years, I was just trying to do what everybody else is doing, right? And just trying to shout the loudest. Yeah. And I just found it wasn't effective. So we started to get a little smarter, a little more calculated on how we approach the marketing, and it's been effective. We've grown a lot. Like I said, the pandemic started, so super grateful for that, for sure.
So what's your team size? How many attorneys, how many support staff?
3 lawyers, including myself, and 11 people in total under roof.
And about how many open case files do you currently have?
I would around 3. I'm guesstimating around 300 to 350. It's probably much more, but I don't want to overinflate. I'd say 300 to 350 right now.
Yeah, sure. And what's revenue growth been like over the years? I mean, you talked about, kind of hitting a bit of a plateau, and then, what did things look like?
Well, I had to take a step back. That's the interesting part, is when I sort of had the pivot when the pandemic hit, the income actually dropped because it took time. My wife sort of called it, kind of like starting a new company and doing things a certain way, then you sort of changed it. And so sometimes you have to go back to go forward, I find. And so I did that. And then, last year was a tough year, even though we were having such growth in many different ways. And this year, we've already doubled last year. So now it's sort of popping, right? You're seeing that emergence of results of the production really, taking foot. And so, I would encourage anyone listening to this, this is a really hard racket. PI is super competitive. Law itself is really competitive. But I'm a big believer in daily golden habits, doing things, in a very disciplined way, consistently over time. Things sort of happen, right? And they pop sometimes. So thankfully, I'm realizing this growth. But there's a million reasons why that's happening. But I think, the more we can get intentional with our marketing, the better our client service, better we treat our staff, all these things sort of come together, I feel like. And really good things have happened, thankfully.
That's excellent advice, that incremental growth, right? How can we kind of put all those pieces together? So you talk about trying to shout the loudest, and that was just not working. What did that mean? What were you doing? Were you investing in traditional advertising? How were you trying to grow and hitting that wall?
Really conventionally, with paper, sorry, it's a little loud in Boston today, downtown Boston, with pay per click, TV, right? But those are expensive plays, right? And you have to, it's sort of a race who can spend the most.
Yeah.
And just there were, a lot of large firms that sort of came into the Boston market. I had to get kind of creative, and I'm a big believer, client service, customer service, trying to, and that doesn't entail shouting, right? That just entails honing in, drilling down, and giving clients just a really good experience, like high level client service. And that has really generated referrals. So when I started to stop trying to be the loudest and scream the loudest, got a little smarter about, all right, these are the people who know me, like me, and trust me, or at least I think they do. Let's drill down on them and really make sure that they get the best service, that we educate them on, that we want referrals. And I'm happy to talk about that. Just really, I call it kind of a culture of referrals that applies to lawyers as well as clients. Just really, because we can't assume, Kara, that people know that we want referrals. We have to be intentional. Look, just so you know, we're built on referrals. We would love and appreciate your referral. That would mean a lot to us. And the more we do that, the more referrals that flow. It's very effective, I find.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are you doing now? I know you kind of mentioned it's kind of a more of a holistic approach, but what are you contributing the growth to now? It sounds like you're doing a lot of public speaking. You're authoring many publications. Tell us about all of that effort.
So I'm a big believer in showing up as much as you can show up, right? Without spending a gargantuan amount of money. Now, I guess I'm talking more direct response. Newsletters, right? We have a big tribe of people that know us, like, and trust us. We send an attorney newsletter. That's not like a boring, snooze fest about the law. People don't care about that. It's my family, my history, my upbringing. It's a little bit different, unconventional. I talk about coming from a family of addiction, right? A family of real trouble and dysfunction. And I'm just very authentic and real about my story. And once I started to do that, people sort of said, you know what, I can relate to that. So that's sort of the newsletter side with clients. We also have an attorney
email newsletter. Are you talking email or physical newsletter?
Both.
Okay.
So we do a monthly newsletter, right? Paper in the mailbox. And we do a weekly email blast, but it's not spammy. It's more like we think about the subject line, think about, if someone performs well on social media, we may repurpose that asset in the email blast. That's been super helpful. The open rate is, I think it's around 35%, which is good. And frankly, I would encourage anyone on the call, if you get unsubscribes, don't let that phase you. Don't let that deter you if you're trying email marketing. It's okay if people fall off. It means they're not really picking up what you're putting down anyway. So it's okay. Let them go. Just concentrate on those who want to hear you and keep receiving your content. I've got an attorney newsletter, right? That's just for referring attorneys. And so we're constantly adding on to that, that list of people that grows, Kara. Every day we add lawyers to that list. And so another way to show up. Now that's a monthly newsletter. So just a lot of different approaches. You got paper newsletters, email blasts, right? And you mentioned public speaking. I think there's no better way to grow your network than public speaking, right? I mean, it doesn't matter if there's 5 people or 500 people. I'm speaking to a bar organization in 2 days. There's like 5 people signed up. I don't care. I'll still do the gig because I could just hopefully provide value, start a relationship, grab coffee with one of the lawyers or maybe all of them afterwards at some point and just start. But again, it's a long game. I liken it to, we're kind of planting crops. We take care of the crops, we nurture them, and with time they eventually grow, and hopefully they grow abundantly.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of what we're doing right now, for sure.
So tell us about this culture of referrals. I assume you're talking about referrals from past clients as well as referring attorneys. How are you nurturing and cultivating that?
For example, in our newsletter, if a client refers a case, we'll mention their name like, hey, John S. or Samantha F. Thank you for referring a case. We appreciate you. People like to see their name in print, kind of celebritizes the client a little bit for the referral. And we have a sign in our reception area. When clients walk in, it speaks right to them with a sign that says, we appreciate referrals. Thank you so much. If we can ever help anyone that needs an attorney, we're here to help. And in our newsletter, not only does it celebritize those who refer, right, but it also mentions, even if it's not a personal injury case, we're your trusted legal advisor. No matter what kind of legal issue, come to us, because we want to be that hub of that the person they call, that if it's a real estate matter, well, we've got great real estate lawyers in our network, right? Divorce, criminal, whatever. So we don't want you to call anyone else. We're your trusted legal advisor. So that's what we really hone in on for referrals. But we use email automation with potential clients and existing clients. And in the existing client email automation, it talks about referrals. PS, we're always looking for referrals. If you know anyone that we could help, we're happy to help, right? But just, again, being intentional and not assuming people know that you want referrals, being real clear about that.
Yeah, that's a common mistake, unfortunately, right? We just assume that past clients are going to remember us. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. Yeah.
Never. They don't. They'll forget you.
Yeah. Yeah. I really like that trusted, legal source that really resonates. So what about growing? Okay, so you're making new connections with new referring attorneys. How are you keeping in touch with those? If you have a stable of referring attorneys, how are you making sure that you're staying top of mind? You went to the newsletter, of course. Are there any tailored, kind of more personalized touches, or how does that look?
For sure. I mean, just last week, I just started calling some lawyers that have referred us cases. And I'm not calling to ask referral, just, hey, John, how are you? Hey, Sarah, how's your immigration practice? Whoever it is, whatever it is, I just want to check in. And you can do that on LinkedIn too, just checking in, not asking for a thing. Just, hey, I'm just calling to say, hi, how are you? How's the family? How are you? Checking in. People literally are like, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Because they're getting our newsletters, right? That's on a fairly routine. They're religiously sent out. There's no interruption. Those things are going out, but I try to show up differently, right? With just a phone call. That's super helpful, I find, just to touch base with the attorneys, and also clients, right? Maven client, Maven refers for a case, call and check in on them. How are you doing? What's going on? How's your aunt, or how's your cousin graduated college, right? People remember that stuff, and they'll remember that you checked in. I think that's really important.
You talk about prioritizing customer service. What does that look like for the firm? How are you distinguishing the firm with a high level of service?
Well, I think customer service is the best way to grow a firm, Cara. I mean, if you neglect your clients, they're going to go to your competitors. It's just nothing but trouble. So the way we do that is from the jump, from the start. Once they sign up as a client of ours, they get a warm introductory email and a text, because a lot of people, they have buyer's remorse. They think, did I just make the right decision by hiring that lawyer? Did I just mess up? Am I on the right path? So just, that we like to prime them for a good future experience they can have with us. So thank you so much, XYZ client, for signing up. This is what to expect. We appreciate you. Thank you for the opportunity to serve you, right? And then it starts with the case manager. Whoever takes on the case, they're calling the client, religiously every 4 weeks. And I check that. I look at that. And I send actually emails to the client, all the clients, existing clients, saying, have you been contacted in the last 30 days? It shows them I'm serious about that. And it just shows that, we sincerely care that you're being followed up and contacted. So my staff knows I'm doing that. So they know, okay, that's part of the job. Got to call the client. So really, giving the clients good service. And if we hear the client is having surgery, or, God forbid, they had a death in family, we send a card, whether it be a good occasion or a bad occasion. We send a handwritten card. Just checking in, saying, I'm so sorry, or congratulations, whatever the event may be that occurred, showing up differently. People appreciate that, right? Handwritten cards are, I think, way too underutilized. It's just so helpful.
A lost art, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah. I think that combating buyer's remorse is so important. Filling that communication gap that can sometimes occur between retention when that visible work is done, right? They may, even though you're hard at work on their case, they may not understand what the process is like, what they can expect from you and the firm. So I think that is such a critical piece of the communication. So you have an impressive collection of past client testimonials on your website, both written and video testimonials. How do you obtain testimonials? What's your process?
We ask and then we ask again, because a lot of times, clients, for example, reviews, right? The client may not do it on the first ask, but we have to follow up, right? I think reviews are great. Just this past weekend, got a really good case that called in, and we asked, how'd you find us? They said, we read your reviews. I mean, that's what today's consumer is doing, is reading reviews. So you have to stack. You got to get a lot of reviews. And to do that, you have to follow up. I think that's really important. So I'm pretty obsessed with reviews, and my team knows that. Always preaching, get reviews, get reviews. It helps us all grow collectively. So I think that's so very important. Continually getting reviews, so important.
And how are you using video to market the firm? I've watched quite a few videos from you. How are you really, establishing that trust and distinguishing yourself with video?
Well, that comes back to, using a multimedia approach, right? We don't just use email, we don't just use print. You have to use different assets. So video is a great way. And video obviously is coming on strong. So if you're not utilizing video, I think every lawyer in this call should be, right, to the fullest extent. YouTube Shorts, all these different things you can utilize, but don't be boring. Don't go on and on for 5 minutes about what negligence means. People don't care. They don't want to know about it, right? Talk about, give them information they need in kind of quick sized bites, right? I think it's important. My philosophy is to educate, never sell, right? I'm not trying to sell in the videos or anything. I never ask, for business. Yeah, I'll encourage, I want your referral. And I have a culture of, telling people we do want referrals. We don't really ask for business, other than asking, hey, we love your referral. When I say we don't ask for business, I mean we educate potential clients, right? Because everyone's doing the same thing. We like to, again, show up differently, right? We have multiple books, multiple free reports, multiple white papers that are designed to educate the client, right? A lot of people, they don't like lawyers, don't trust lawyers, they don't want to have anything to do with lawyers. So let's break down those resistance barriers and educate, right? And just really help them with things you shouldn't do after an accident, right? Or things to look for when you're hiring an attorney. The more you can do that, establishes you as an authority, one that can be trusted. And if you've any lawyers on the call, if you haven't written a book, it's really easy to do. It's not that challenging. It's pretty easy to put a book together, and you can repurpose that. It's evergreen. I would encourage everyone to do it. It's super helpful.
How are you promoting the book?
Through various ways. Generally, we have a page on a landing page on our website. Various books for you can't just, I think, have one book on personal injury, right? You got to drill down a little bit. So we have one on different practice areas. The way we promote it, if a potential client raises their hand, it says, I'm interested, but they may be a tire kicker, not ready to sign. They go into an email sequence, and we'll nurture them with a book, with an ebook, right? We also will send them a shock and awe package with an actual book they can actually touch and feel and read. Shock and awe packages, those are really helpful too. It makes you show up differently. But there's no bad way to promote a book. I feel like it's such a great asset, so underutilized. There's so many ways you could repurpose that digitally, as well as a hard copy of the book. So many ways to use it. You can't go wrong.
Yeah. What else are you including in your shock and awe package, and are you sending it to every prospect?
Yep. Yeah, I'm very, very intentional about that, right? Our intake coordinator knows if a client raises their hand and reaches out and they're not ready to sign, shock and awe, same day, right? There's to me urgency here. We can't just sit on things. Got to get it out. So, Kara, the shock and awe will have a book, as well as a testimonial book, right? Past reviews, you got a testimonial book. Just trying to, because what you say about yourself is one thing, but what other people say about you is different. So just trying to, signal to the client, we're good at what we do, but don't take our word for it. Look what other people have said, right? And I don't mean boasting whatsoever. It's very understated. It's like, here's a package, hopefully you can find out extract value from that, because that's what people care about. How can you help me solve my problem? And, we have some merchandise in there, maybe like an umbrella. I tend to like merchandise that doesn't deplete, say, some things just kind of, it depletes, it runs out, like things like umbrellas, a bookmark, things like that. We have a branded bookmark that talks about referrals, all that's another way that we sort of, we encourage a referral culture, right? But the shock and awe is I think another underutilized asset that's super helpful.
You can really stand out by sending a pretty simple package, right?
Definitely. It means a lot. It
Yeah,
literally should shock and awe, like, holy cow, like this is very impressive.
right. So, Chris, what's your approach to social media? You're posting on Instagram and TikTok. Is social a sizable lead driver for you?
Well, it's hard to say. I don't look at it as a sort of a lead drive, lead mag. I look at it more as a way to stay in touch with the tribe, right? A way to stay in touch with not law. I'd say 20 to 30% is promotional, meaning like, this is the cases we do. It's more like, here's a new team member, here's an introduction to a new team member we just brought on board. Here is something motivational, right? I mean, I want them to think of me first as a person, then as a lawyer, right? It's like, people, they don't really care what you do as much as, as opposed to really who you are, what you stand up for, right? So I talk about, family of that I come from has an element of challenge, for lack of a better word. So I talk about, my family, my kids delivering supplies to homeless shelters, about donating to the community, about giving back to the community, about being super grateful for what I have, because that's legit, because I probably shouldn't be where I am today, and I'm really grateful for that. So I try to show my social media, just not too much lawyer stuff, more like human stuff,
Yeah.
right? Like, this is who I am, and just little bits of value that I hope people enjoy. And we get really good traction. We get good engagement.
Yeah. Yeah. So what would you say your top performing content? What topics, what type of content performs best for you?
My story. I literally put out like a very vulnerable post. And I was like, I can't believe I'm writing this right now. And I posted it, and people were like, holy smokes, thanks for sharing. I didn't know that about you.
Yeah.
It's like this instant affinity, because everyone has some way to identify with my story in some way, either directly or indirectly. And so, tell your story, whatever your story is, it's unique. No one else has your story. Share it, right? And again, in social media, don't shout the loudest. Don't try it. You're not going to win that game, I don't think. So let's be creative, tell your story, give value off. That's another way to use your book, Harry. You have a book, use your book, just give the book out digitally for free. Here's a book. I encourage you to share with anyone who you think could use the book. And so once in a while we'll sprinkle in a testimonial, but I'm very, against sort of like self-aggrandizing stuff, because it just turns people off. It's just like, oh, you're a lawyer, you're both, so you get a big verdict. Like, who cares? How's that going to help me? But if you can just show up and provide some value, be, educate, right? Entertain. People care about that stuff. I think they really appreciate it.
How often are you posting? Do you have a strategy behind it, or are you just sort of posting as things come to you?
More the latter, more like things coming to me, right? I just find that the more real you get, more authentic you get, the more people identify and are sort of attracted to that. But don't get me wrong, we're running a business, and we need to encourage business growth. Obviously, we want cases, no question, but we don't always have to proclaim that, right? We can mention it sometimes, but all in all, let's be a little bit more creative in what we post. But I'd say, yeah, we post every day. I think you need to, the algorithm, the ones that appreciates that. I think LinkedIn is fantastic, right? That's a professional audience. Let's get in front of those, lawyers as much as possible, or non-lawyers, whoever that may be, right? But the more that I focused on that, staying in touch with people, right, on social media, newsletters, emails, then the referrals quickly exceeded the cases that are coming in, as opposed to the cases that are coming in from paid advertising. It's very interesting.
You do have a sizable following on social. So how did you kind of start? How did you gain that traction? Is it just by being authentic and consistent?
Yeah, I mean, just growing it, but you can't have a social media presence and just post once a month, right? You need to be vibrant, active, keep posting, and engage with people, whether it be Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Engage with people, right? Have a conversation, check in on people. See, again, we're talking about see how people are doing, right? But I think it's really important to post frequently. I think the more the better, but let's not be spammy, obviously. Let's provide good content, and hopefully, give people good value. That's what I care about.
Yeah. Chris, are you spending money on social? Are you running social ads or boosting top performing posts at all?
I think I'm boost right now. We're boosting our my sort of like vulnerable, authentic, my story kind of post, and
Mhm.
that just continues to. So what I'll do is, we run that as an ad, right? It's like, okay, that performed well organically, so we put money behind that particular post, and so if someone likes it, then we'll send, we'll ask them to like your page in general. If they like the post, ask them to like the page. That increases your social media tribe, if you will, right? Your herd. And so I think for me, I'm in the business of list building, right? Social media list building. As well as off social media list building as well. Just I think all attorneys on this call, Kara, should really from my humble experience, my humble 2 cents, grow your list, keep growing that thing as much as you can. There's no bad way to use and grow a list. I think it's really important to do that.
Well, that's the long-term play, right? It's not
Yeah.
you're not shouting from the rooftops, hire me now with an advertisement. You're simply increasing the exposure of those posts that are already popular, that are already performing well, and you're not, sending them to an appointment page, you're sending them to your profile to get more value, to get more insight, right?
Yeah, we talked earlier in the call about daily habits, these golden habits, right? Try to post to LinkedIn once a day. Post to social media. Maybe it shouldn't maybe always be the lawyer. I think a marketing assistant can help with those things. You can delegate those things, right? Because frankly, there's people much better at that stuff than I am. So I try to play to my strengths, which are very few. But again, we're building our list. This is a long game. Where I said it before, I consider myself a farmer. We're cultivating crops and we're growing. We're nurturing things. Don't get discouraged, right? As you plod forward with these things, it's frustrating. It's easy to get off track. Be as disciplined as you can. Daily habits, I think they really they exponentially grow over time.
We've talked primarily about free and low cost tactics. What type of paid advertising or marketing are you investing in?
Yeah, Google Ads for sure, as well as television, right? But right now, really honing in on Google Ads. We've done Bing before. It didn't really, we all know Bing isn't a robust platform so much as opposed to Google. But using Google, using videos as well, right? Putting money behind videos as well, promoting those on Google. Those are the things that we're putting money behind right now, because I think you can't just do internal marketing, right? You have to do external marketing to bring more people into the fold. And once they're in the fold, you need to make sure they have a good experience with you. You really gotta, whether it's a client who has a case or an attorney who refers you a case, make sure everybody's happy. It doesn't take a lot of work. Let's let's show people you made a good decision by coming to us for help or referring one of your clients to us for help. We want to really demonstrate that we provide great service, and we're going to do a really good job for you on your case, or the attorney for referring us a case.
How does the lead quality of a lead that comes through Google Ads or a lead that comes through other paid advertising or TV compare to the referrals and the more organic prospects that are coming through? How does the quality compare?
I mean, I would say from experience, the referrals tend to be better cases, right? Either attorney or client, just generally, especially with attorneys, the case is somewhat vetted. And plus, with attorney referrals, you don't have to pay any money, right? That attorney probably spent money in some way, some manner to generate that referral for you. Um, so I think by and large, I see better cases from referrals, right? But I think it's hard to get some whale of a case through
Mm.
paid, right? If it's a big matter, people are going to go to their family and friends. Hey, do you know a lawyer who can help? That's where I try to position myself. Knowing a lot of lawyers, knowing a lot of clients who we've served in the past, being that trusted legal advisor that they will call us when that big case arrives. Maybe it's a small case, I don't care. But I feel like paid advertising, it's hard to get the significant case, at least from my experience, right? But you have to pay to play, and you have to be present there. So you open up those doors to those potential big cases through paid advertising.
Yeah. The firm has a strong emphasis on community involvement, right? Why is that so important to you?
Well, growing up, there was homelessness in my family, so I believe I have a duty to give back. So in a month, we're going to be donating, or a day, we're going to just be showing up on a Friday to at a food bank to put food supplies together, right? And I think that's important, right? Because I mean, I'm so blessed, Kara, to do what I do. I am honestly, like, I probably shouldn't be where I am, and I'm really lucky to be where I am, so I take it seriously. And I try to be super never lose sight of that, right? Because my father had a much different path. So I feel a calling and duty to help this community, and however, in whatever way I can, right? And my teammates, my team members, right? We're real culture. We have core values here. One of our core values is we help the community, right? And we legit live that core value. So I think if you want to run an authentic business, right, and be legit, you can't just be self-serving and pound your chest. We want cases, we're the best. We're the best travelers. No, like, you got to show up in the community, help people out, boots on the ground, roll up your sleeves and do something. And not only are you going to feel really good doing that work, you're probably going to grow your business at the same time. So for me, the community development is like, you can't lose.
Right, right. And I see you really documenting that on your social media, and that's really great. You can see the passion for sure. So before we wrap up, Chris, I always like to ask, if a lawyer watching only has time to adopt one, maybe two of your tips, what would you recommend?
Grow your list every day. It's easy. It's low-hanging fruit. Again, daily habits, I think, exponentially grow a practice. Add to your list of attorneys, of clients, right? If a potential client calls you, right, and you can't help them, get their info, right? I mean, get their name, their email, ideally an address, because then we put them not only on our digital newsletter, but our paper newsletter, because at some point they may need us in 5 years or 5 months, whatever it is, or know someone that needs our services. So all the attorneys, if you're not doing it, build your list, meet a lot of lawyers, right? Put those lawyers on your list, keep list building. And I think that's where magic happens, and I'm seeing it. I'm grateful for that.
Grow your list. It's that lowest hanging fruit. That is absolutely the truth. Thank you, Chris. It was such a pleasure. Thank you for sharing your experience. It was a sincere pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Yeah, everyone be sure to join us for the next episode of the Grow with Kara show happening very soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.